What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Hit the subscribe button, check out some of my other videos, and thumbs up this video and leave your thoughts in the comments. Today I want to talk all my thoughts on the Super Mario Bros. Movie and why it's so divisive critically between professional film critics and fans of Nintendo and Super Mario. I got to see a preview screening of the movie here in Melbourne and it was a whole lot of fun. And I have so many thoughts on this movie. And just to get it out of the way, I loved it. I thought this was the perfect love letter to this fantastic gaming franchise. And I think this is one destined to make a ton of money at the box office. A sequel is nearly guaranteed, and there are so many factors here that make this movie work so much. But I was really curious about why the movie was getting such mixed reviews critically, and you can see that there's quite a big discrepancy between the critical score and the fan score. Fans are loving this movie. And I wanted to start just by talking about all of the things that I thought were so good about the movie and why I think it works so well as a product. Most of us are very aware of the complete failure critically and commercially of the Super Mario Bros. Movie back in the 90s, a live action film that was so mishandled in terms of being respectful and truthful to the source material. You kind of watch this movie today and you think, how could Nintendo have let their most trusted and beloved franchise and intellectual property be mishandled this way?
No, God! No, God, please, no!
And I think that's why even when we first heard that there was going to be an animated Super Mario Bros. Movie in the next few years, I knew it was going to be handled with the utmost care to this franchise. Mainly because Nintendo's experience in the 90s with that movie was so negative, it literally took them 30 more years to make this movie. And I think with people like Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, serving as an executive producer on the film, meant that Nintendo had a really big hand in crafting and advising on this movie, which was really important to it being a success. And together, Nintendo and Illumination created this fantastic film that serves not only children, and I think sometimes we forget that a lot of animated movies, particularly Illumination, are generally for children. Yes, adults get enjoyment out of them, and yes, often there are adult meanings behind the films, and that's what makes a good kids film, is when there's something there for the adults as well, when it's deeper than just the surface level kid stuff, right? But also it does what this film really needed to do, and that is to serve the fan base of Mario. And this is a love letter to Mario fans, to Nintendo fans. And I think a lot of people say that a lot of Hollywood movies now are all about Easter eggs and bonus things and little, wow, references to other things. And wow, did you see that? Did you see that? And to be honest, I think the Super Mario Bros. Movie needed to be that. And I think the reason why it's so successful is because for people like me who grew up playing these games and loving these games, it's literally just full of homages and tributes to those games. And this is where I think the discrepancy between the critical perspective and the fan perspective comes in, because I think a lot of film critics going to see these films can't appreciate those extra bits and pieces that make the film so good, whether it be things like the music. You head to the Kong Kingdom and you hear orchestral versions of Donkey Kong Country music, right? Maybe if you never played those games, you don't know how beautiful it is to hear that. You don't know how incredible it is to hear these orchestral rearrangements of music that you've heard throughout your life. Mario Kart's theme, Super Mario theme, all of them. If you haven't played these games, all these little Easter eggs don't mean anything to you. And to me, so much of the film's meaning is in these little bit, the 1%ers that just make you go, wow, they didn't have to do that, but they did. I think one of the best Easter eggs for me was seeing Chunky Kong in the Kong Kingdom, okay? Because yes, we have Diddy Kong and he has a line and that's great, and Diddy, awesome. But then Chunky Kong, there is no kid seeing this movie that knows that that's Chunky Kong. You can't tell me they do, because these kids didn't grow up playing Donkey Kong 64. And Chunky Kong has barely appeared since Donkey Kong 64, but to those of us who were there in the late 90s playing Donkey Kong 64 on our Nintendo 64s, playing as Chunky Kong, we haven't seen him, and suddenly here he is. Those little details to me meant the world. Like, Nintendo acknowledging this character in their movie. Things like the blue shell from Mario Kart and Rainbow Road and that fantastic sequence, all of it is just phenomenal. All of it is just full of these little Easter eggs, not to mention the Easter eggs to other Nintendo properties like Punch-Out!, Kid Icarus. Mario is literally playing Kid Icarus, right? There's an R-Wing from Star Fox on top of his TV. References to games like Balloon Fighter, Game & Watch, there's Ice Climber references. These are all there for people like me. They're not there for kids. They're there for people who love Nintendo and who have grown up with Nintendo. They're not there for critics either. And I think, and not to get philosophical, part of what makes this film great is those things, and the critics, professional film critics who do not have that historical context, who do not have that love of Nintendo, cannot possibly relate to the film in a way beyond the surface level. The way someone like me can. The way all of these fans of Nintendo can, which is why the fan score is so high comparatively. And what I'm saying is those things are a fundamental part of what makes this movie so enjoyable. And not only just enjoyable, but rewatchable. I want to go again. I want to see it again so I can look out for other things. As far as the story goes, yes, it is quite surface level. It basically is your standard Bowser wants to marry Peach. And I did think it was interesting that it was about Bowser sort of wanting to marry Peach, because they were painting it as Peach having a less traditional damsel in distress role, which she certainly doesn't have, but it still sort of played on Peach being an object of male desire, I suppose, which I didn't particularly like. And that's why I like that there was no love story between Peach and Mario. They were just, you know, friends and colleagues doing this thing to save the world. And you look at things like Jack Black's performance as Bowser and the theatrics that he gives that character, you know, this like wimpy king who externally is so aggressive, but in the inside he's so vulnerable. And I like that complexity. I like that fear within him and that self-loathing within him. All of that really made that character, and Jack Black is absolutely the standout of this film in terms of voice acting. Just brings Bowser to life in such a fun and unique way. Literally does a Tenacious D style Peach song. It's phenomenal. I thought some of the commercially licensed music used in the film were pretty random choices, particularly Take On Me. I Need a Hero, I guess, was good, but no one did that better than Shrek 2. Thunderstruck by AC/DC I thought worked really well, but yeah, I think for me the standouts were the more orchestral versions, like the Superstar theme at the end, orchestral movie score version. The underground theme that Bowser plays on the piano. So much fun. Such a great little tidbit. And also just general world building things like the Luma. You know, that implies that Rosalina is going to be there in the future, maybe. It implies that the Super Mario Galaxy lore exists in this movie. Even Peach referring to all of the many galaxies out there. It's just great. The detail, Foreman Spike from Wrecking Crew. Like, this movie rocks for anyone who loves Mario. I also loved that Donkey Kong was such a key role in the movie as well. I think Seth Rogen did pretty well, and so did Chris Pratt. I don't understand all the hate. I think they did need a generic voice for Mario because he's a pretty generic character. So Chris Pratt, who literally played the main default Lego guy in the Lego movie, was a good choice. But the relationship between Mario and Donkey Kong on screen is fantastic. I loved that. The only character I thought was maybe miscast was Cranky Kong, who didn't really feel like a cranky old man, which is what he's supposed to be. And Fred Armisen, nothing against him, I just don't think delivered what that role was supposed to be, in my opinion. But even the way the film starts with like a side-scrolling 2D platformer style thing with Mario running down the New York streets, I just thought, fantastic. All amazing in every way. And like, what is there not to like about this movie? And I go back to genuinely thinking the only reason that critics would give this such negative reviews is because they can't connect with it on the level as someone who loves Nintendo, who is what this movie is for. This movie is for kids and people who love Nintendo, okay? And if you can't connect on that level, then you're not going to enjoy the movie. Of course, there's a post-credit scene. I really thought it was going to be Wario, but it isn't. However, I do think this movie sets itself up so well for a sequel. I think there are so many possibilities for a sequel to this, and I might do a separate video talking about different movies that I would like to see in the Nintendo universe, because I think this sets up so well for a Donkey Kong movie, just a standalone Donkey Kong movie. You know, bring King K. Rool in, bring the other Kongs in. You've already got Chunky, Diddy, and Dixie in there. You've already designed them. Do a movie with them. It'd be fantastic. Like, imagine if they had the 5 Kongs from Donkey Kong 64 and just did like a team-up buddy movie where they have to stop K. Rool. Just do Donkey Kong 64 the movie. I think that would be amazing. But again, I'll do another video on all of that. But, you know, Yoshi appearing as a character in the sequel movie, I ideally hope that it's not voiced. I think Yoshi's voice is just so classic. I don't want Yoshi to speak. But of course, Wario and Waluigi definitely need to appear. At least Wario, I think, definitely will. Waluigi, maybe the post-credit scene to the end of the second Super Mario Bros. Movie. But this is absolutely the style I wanted. I think Illumination nailed it with the advice of Nintendo. I think that guidance really helped create something very special for the fans, for the kids. There's a bit there for the parents if they're not into Nintendo, but this discrepancy between critic and fan is very interesting. And you know what? I think if you have fan power behind you, why does it matter what the critics think? Because I've always said that critics are just one person's opinion, and I think this epitomizes that concept very aptly. And this movie is on track to definitely make $1 billion, which is huge and amazing, and I'm really keen to see how far it can get. And the more money it makes, the more Nintendo goes, let's make more movies. Imagine a Zelda movie, a Donkey Kong movie, a Star Fox movie. Okay, that's unlikely because that franchise isn't as big, but you know what I mean? There's so many great properties there to work with. Overall, I loved this movie. I felt like it was made for me. I felt like it was exactly what I needed and wanted this movie to be, and I have no qualms with it. It was fantastic. And if critics can't relate to it on a level that most people can who are fans of Nintendo, then that makes sense to me why there is this discrepancy. Guys, I'm Radio Mike. I do a bunch of pop culture videos and a few podcasts. I'd love for you to check out my channel. Subscribe to me on Patreon if you want to see more. I'm really keen to grow this channel even further, so please get on board. Leave your thoughts in the comments below as well, and thumbs up the video. I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later.